very well know before, it says it's preparing, but it's made us live. So I'll talk you in, and when it's definitely live, we're probably live now, but when it's definitely live, I'll talk you in, and you can do the. There we go. You can do the intro now. Over to you, Tiff Needell.
As you might realise, the chaotic love cars are coming live again with Paul Woodman pressing the buttons and hoping we are live and telling me we are live for our weekly on the grid chat about world motorsport. And of course, Formula One is back after its summer break. So it's time for us to give you what are half-term reports. Well, I'll probably give you my report and Paul will just say I'm wrong all the time. But anyway, it's good to look back at the half-term.
I only said to piss you
MotoGP
off.
bikes.
I'm only contest you to piss you off.
But after we've done that, we'll still come back to our usual round the world roundup. And the MotoGP bikes were falling over themselves in a Hungarian car park, which has created a lot of debate. There's a surprise winner in IndyCar and an absolutely brilliant 4-wide, 200-mile-an-hour photo finish in NASCAR at Daytona. It was a stunningly exciting race to watch, which I know you'll be bored with, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Plus British GTs at Brands Hatch and British Superbikes leaping over the Cadwell Park Mountain. So not a lot of racing going on this weekend, but before we go to our half-term report, though, there is a little smoking rumour coming up, which I'd be very excited about. What driver have I been telling you all season needs to be snapped up by a Grand Prix team? Which driver? If I keep on saying, you remember, Paul?
Ooh, no.
Oh, gosh, useless. At the end of every IndyCar report, what do I say?
Alex Palou?
Alex Palou. Someone has to sign this talent up. And the tiny rumour was a tiny bit of smoke, denied by Palou, denied by Red Bull, and denied by Chip Ganassi, the team he signed up for, is to Red Bull. But if you actually sit back and think about it, it actually makes a massive amount of sense. Because really, Red Bull at the moment, they've got nobody to stick in there. I don't think, Hadjar wants to go there at the moment. It's all too early, new car, new everything. So, and the IndyCar season ends this weekend. So Palou's pleased, ready to go. McLaren is still suing him for breach of contract about 5 years ago when McLaren signed him up for a Formula One team. And then Chip Ganassi says, I'm sorry, mate, but your option was taken 2 days earlier and I've grabbed it. So he's got that to go through. So he's already got a bit of contractual stuff to talk about. But he's now won the championship 3 times on the trot. He's won it 5 times. I know he loves winning. But even for a driver, surely he's got to be teased.
Is this you Formula One? Thinking, or have you read it somewhere? I've
read
it somewhere?
On Twitter. A person on Twitter.
Wow. No, I like those little rumours.
Well, I know.
That would be amazing if it happens.
But it makes so much sense.
I forgot IndyCar. It feels such a short season, doesn't it?
6 months. Literally, they just do 6 months. April to
crazy.
I don't know why they're so like that.
I'd love to see that.
It does really make sense. Who else is going to stick it against Max? And of course, I think Palou's got the advantage because the cars are changing next year. So he won't be that disadvantaged by not having been on the Formula One grid. He's got to learn Pirelli tyres. But he is just so talented.
Oh, stop it. You don't have to learn Pirelli tyres. You don't have to learn this. You don't have to learn that.
Degradation. So anyway, that is the hot tip. I love it. I hope we'll help grow that rumour. We'll go to our half-term report. I've given A's, A stars, and E's. I've given a U. Guess who you think I get for a U for? Unclassified. Who do you think gets the U?
Doing?
No. We'll get there. I know you're on holiday, reclining on your luxurious country house bed or wherever you are. But anyway.
Yeah, I wish.
Well, we start with going in
constructors or individuals.
Constructors, the team. So McLaren. We'll start off with McLaren.
Who's coming second? Forget McLaren; they've won it. Who's coming second?
Well, I've given Lando an A, and I've reluctantly given Oscar an A star. Because I fear he is going to win it.
Hang on, you're talking about constructors because they're drivers. They're not constructors.
No, going through the list in order of constructors. I don't care
Right.
about constructors. No, I don't give a toss.
Okay, so I was saying that McLaren have won,
Oh yeah, yeah.
obviously,
I thought you just meant
but
they've
you
won the drivers' title. We just go
no.
drivers. I don't care about
Okay,
constructors. So yes,
okay.
I've only given Lando an A star. Crashing into, if he hadn't have crashed into the back of Oscar in Canada,
Oh,
he'd be 10 points ahead of the champ. He'd be 10 points closer. What's the gap at the moment is 11. So he threw away 10 points, be 1 point behind. Although you have to say if Oscar hadn't fallen off in Australia, he would have another 16 points. But I
what happened to
fear
Oscar in Australia? I can't even
he went off
remember.
one of the grass. Remember the rain came? They both went off on the grass. The
Yeah, I
penultimate
do
corner.
remember.
Lando
Yeah, I
just got it
do.
back on again, and
Yeah,
Oscar went off and spun and stuck in the grass with wheels spinning.
that was exciting.
Oh no, it was good stuff. But I do fear that Oscar's going to win. I mean, there's a British driver with lots of character, a stunning supermodel girlfriend, and then there's this terribly serious, very very focused Oscar with his girlfriend, his
Yeah.
schoolgirl girlfriend from back
he
home,
he
wonderfully
he's
steady
not very
background.
endearing. He's
No,
he's
I
not very.
know,
He's a lovely guy, but he's not very
but he's
exciting.
not being distracted by some supermodel or all the other stuff. And Lando always each side. I just fear that it's going to be Oscar, and I think he gets the A star because I think he's performed better than Lando this season. Ferrari boys, quite obviously. Uh, Charles Leclerc gets an A. I think an A. I mean, I think he's done well, and the team have let him down a lot. He's not quite A-star material, but I think he's been pretty much as good as Lando for his driving prowess this season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and girlfriend as well, supermodel girlfriend as well.
But of
He's a
course,
nice chap. He comes
yeah,
across nice.
yeah,
Lando
exactly.
Lando recently has it doesn't come across well, in my opinion. I think he's become a little bit cocky and a little bit too cocksure,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
I know. That's why he's only got
But
an A.
Charles always does.
He's
No,
got an
you give him
A,
an A
but
because
he's
he's
not.
driving.
He's not concentrating on his lessons, Lando. Little Lando's not concentrating. He's got an A. I didn't know what to give Lewis. I mean, Ferrari have struggled their plank all year. There's another story about this plank problem. That apparently their car is designed, the whole concept of the car is designed to has to run really close to the track before it works. And what's his name, the French bloke in charge, says 1 millimetre, 1 millimetre of extra ride height loses a tenth a lap. A millimetre. So 3 millimeters is 3/10 of a second per lap. So they have to get it. But if they get within the one that close as they need to be, then the plank starts wearing out. So they either put
Well,
the tire pressures up to make it, or tell the drivers to lift and coast to stop slamming the car into the ground.
but that's why they have been very good, or why Charles been very good in qualifying at
Yeah,
a
yeah,
few
exactly. Because
tracks.
the car's low, and then they have to
Mm.
pump the pressures up or lift and coast. There's something about Hamilton, the press, I couldn't be bothered to read his latest excuse. Brake pads, they run a different brake pad material to what he's used to. And anyway, I've given him, what would you give him then? A, B, C, D, E? Lewis, what would you go for, do you think, for Lewis's efforts this year?
Oh, C,
I'm
average, bang
exactly what I've
average.
written. Yes, C. I've given
Yeah,
a C to Lewis, I'm afraid.
well done, sir.
And really, without winning the sprint race, it would have been a D. I think I've given him the C because he won the sprint race.
That was all a bit weird, that sprint race win. It was all a bit odd. Charles had 5 podiums, which is the same as Max Verstappen. That's
Yeah,
quite surprising.
yeah.
Doesn't seem to have been there or thereabouts at all.
Mercedes, I don't know whether to give Russell an A star. I've already given him an A. Would you think he gets an A star treatment?
No, definitely
A
not.
solid
But
A.
he's become a bit more endearing, George.
Yeah.
You're talking about driver. I'm talking about as an individual. I think he's become quite lovable and endearing.
Yeah.
Drives his little Mercedes AMG one around, his
He's
little
definitely on, he's
hypercar.
on the A list. He's on the A list.
Yeah.
Whereas Kimi Anthony, whose birthday is today, Kimi is no longer 18.
19.
He's 19 today. Now, what would you give Kimi?
Mm. Sorry, a B minus.
I've actually gone harsh. I've gone D. I
Have
think
you
he's been the
really?
biggest. I mean, after that Australian start,
You're
where in
right,
the
actually.
rain, he caught up with
Yeah.
George in the rain. Fantastic job. And we loved his interviews. He's level headed. He seems incredibly intelligent. He was on pole position, was it, in Miami? So there are flashes, but just not enough flashes. I mean, how many points has he got? Russell's got 172
Wow,
points,
he's over 100 points shy of his
64.
teammate.
Kimi's only got
My
64
goodness.
points. And it just all goes back to the fact that I think he should have stayed in GP2 for a year. I just think it's a classic example. Like, now, okay, Max Verstappen, okay, Kimi Raikkonen did, okay, yes, some can leap up into Formula One and go with the flow. I just think he would have been so much better off
Do
qualifying.
you know what? You're right.
13-1. 13-1 qualifying. 13-1.
I'm surprised he got the one, I'll be honest with you.
I know.
That
All
was his
began
pole position, wasn't it?
just going back to when he was last year, when he had these first free practice one in Monza, and he put it in the wall, didn't he, on his first sort of flying lap because he's tried too hard too soon and crashed the car. And he had a tough Formula 2 season because the car wasn't that good with Ollie Behrman, with the team. So yeah, I've only given him a D. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Kimi, but I think you haven't really. Well, I think he hasn't lived up to expectations, which is why maybe the mark is a bit harsh.
Bizarrely, they're still talking about if Mercedes got Max next year, that they'll get rid of George over Kimi, which is just so bizarre.
I don't know what that's all about.
Because that's his little protege.
It's not happening anymore anyway.
No, it's not.
Of course, Red Bull next.
Toto slated Christian Horner this week. Just said he's been an arsehole for the last 10 or 12 years. So, but basically saying he got his comeuppance because he's been an arsehole for too long now.
He might be back. It'd be good if he comes back, stirring it all up. It's always good to have an evil bit of evil. I have to give Max an A-star. I can't ever give Max. I'm sorry. Well, I know the Red Bull's not working.
He's the best driver in the world.
Yeah, he hasn't made any mistakes. So he's got to be A-star. Yuki.
I saw a brilliant clip of him. He's on holiday somewhere, enjoying his summer break, and they're in golf carts. He's got his wife and his kids. He undertook somebody off the grass.
He went for a gap. If you're not a racing driver, don't go for a gap.
I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
So he's as driver-wise, he's got to be A-star. Yuki, I was trying to be kind to Yuki because I like Yuki. Because I raced a lot in Japan. I've always got a bit of an empathy, something. What's that word with the Japanese drivers? Empathy. Because I raced over there a lot. I saw how quick they are in there, especially in their homeland. Sometimes they don't travel well. It's always been harsh. So I've always been,
See, I don't get that either. I don't get that. Or they don't travel well. They're only good in their homeland. What sort of thing's that? That's rubbish. That's like saying a cricket team's only good at Lords or something, or a football team is only good at home. You've got to be good anywhere. If you just imagine Max Verstappen saying, "Oh, I'm only good in the Netherlands or Benelux countries."
The Japanese culture is a very, very different culture. Food, very different. It's very foreign, very foreign. Whereas everyone speaks English. I mean, Hoshino actually blitz in the rain around Fuji. Every European superstar Group C driver in the world. Satoru Nakajima was so quick in Japan, but had a pretty average Grand Prix career with Lotus. It's just if you're not feeling well within yourself, if you're uneasy about your surroundings, a bit like team managers. The interesting thing with there was an interview with Dutch Formula E driver, Alpine Grand Prix driver, maybe Alpine names, who just said that when he was at McLaren, when Zach Brown came in, he just didn't get on with him and his performances dropped. He just didn't feel that he was in a happy family.
That's completely different to what you said about they don't.
That's what Japanese. Well. That's what happens if you don't feel at home where you are. It can affect. I'm sorry, but he's got an E anyway. Yuki, I've given him an E. I'm sorry, Yuki. I'd love to keep supporting.
10 points, 10 bloody points in a Red Bull. I know the Red Bull's not very good, but
I think 10 points came from the Racing Bull, didn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, I think he hasn't got a point with Red Bull. I think he did get 1/10th place, and he's at 1 point. But Yuki's on the goodbye list. I'm sorry, Yuki. Supported you all this time,
but everybody knew that.
Back to Japan.
On the going, yeah, absolutely.
Williams are really up there, fifth in the points. I mean, it's a huge gap, isn't it? Because the constructors is like 560 McLaren, 260 Ferrari. Huge. That's almost double Ferrari. Mercedes not far behind Ferrari, 236. Red Bull, 194. Then you go right down to 70 points, Williams. And an A for Albon. His name begins with A, and I think he's really...
2 A's.
He's taken on Carlos and shrugged him off. What's the qualifying is 8 Albon, 6 Sainz. 54 points Albon, 16 Sainz. Wow. So I think you can say he's pushed him. So I've given Sainz a B. He still performed well.
What a shame that Alex Albon didn't get to keep that Red Bull seat. Yeah. He was so close.
Yeah.
So close.
2 wins that Lewis knocked him out of.
I know.
Carlos, I've given him a
Don't
B, but I'm
don't don't tell
almost
you the story about Alex Albon. I'm sure it must have on this podcast, but that horror day that still haunts me to this day when I crashed that Le Mans
Porsche at Goodwood.
GT1
Yeah, yeah,
car,
yeah, yeah.
and I was literally crying in the driver's pit on a piece of grass under a tree. You were there, and then Alex Albon walked in with this massive smile. He had no idea, but he just smiling and at me and sort of waving and smiling. And I just thought, oh wow, what a nice guy. I've got a tender spot for Alex Albon. I agree with the A.
Science just a B or lower? I think B. He had some good
Lower
moments.
maybe.
Maybe
Yeah.
C. But he doesn't like the car, doesn't he? The way it doesn't suit his style. That's such a common. When drivers start saying that, I give up following them. I think you've got to get your head down. Alonso has to give him an A. Really, I'd like to give him a B, but I suppose everyone loves
Okay.
Fernando and he does
Okay.
perform well. Would you go as far as an A, or would
Well,
you
before
drop
I
him?
answer that, I'm going to ask you, what are you going to give Lance Stroll, his teammate?
Well, guess who got the U? I told you one drive had a
Oh,
U.
but hang on a minute. He's on exactly the same amount of points as Lance Stroll.
I don't
So
care.
Fernando Alonso.
Lance Stroll has to go. He was probably cheating in class. Daddy probably wrote his homework for him, and I bet he didn't write his own homework. I've kept on reading his homework. He's
He used
unclassified.
ChatGPT.
Lance is unclassified because he shouldn't even be in the class.
Harsh. Lance Stroll surprises everybody once in a while, especially when it's wet. He is exceptional.
Right, so what do you give him? This term, don't forget, we're only talking about this term, this year.
Well,
Okay,
he's on
he's
the
picked
same
up
points
some
as
points. I know he's
he's
picked
on
up
the
some
same
points.
points as Fernando Alonso.
Well,
26 points
well,
each.
what grade are you going to give him then for his efforts this year? Including his
C minus.
performance,
C
including
minus.
his performance at drivers' meetings on
Well,
television.
if that's the case, that petulance I cannot
Petulance,
stand. Oh, I
exactly.
can't stand it. Where he's just sat
Slouching,
there. I don't
yeah.
want to be there. I don't
Right.
care. I'm more
Okay.
important than you. You're not
Right.
important. He gets to you. Why is he like that? Why? Why
Is
such a
Fernando still an A?
spoiled?
Do you think Fernando's an A? I think
No, no way
B.
Fernando's an A.
You
How
drop him,
can you
would
give
you?
Fernando Alonso an A? No way, not even close. He's a C. He's a C
Vicious.
minus at best.
Vicious. Right.
Mm.
Well, that's dumped Fernando. I'd like to have done that, but I wasn't brave enough because I know Fernando's still got a lot of fans out there. Sauber. Sauber's an interesting team because obviously they go well and don't go so well. We all so much enjoyed Hulkenberg getting the podium that he hasn't had in 503,000 Grand Prix. But I actually thought I'd love someone out there that's got stats and facts. I suddenly thought, oh, when Hulkenberg got that podium, did he actually overtake anyone on the track? I'd love to know that because he started 19th. But on both sort of the weather changing, pitting for tires, he always got the pit stop right. He and his team did. And then all of a sudden, looking up, so I was live. Thought, oh, flipping hell, that's Hulkenberg in third. Did he overtake anyone? Answers on
I'm
a
sure he
postcard,
did.
please.
I'm sure he
Answers on a
did.
post. Anyway, because of that one performance, I've given Hulk a B. But I think he
Oh,
needs to move on
Tiff,
to another
he's
team.
higher up. He's higher up than a B.
No, he's not on a. But A's are Albon, Leclerc,
Yeah, but it's
Lando,
relative. It's relative to the
George.
car. You
Okay.
give any one of those. You give any one of those that the Sauber,
Oh,
and
so you're
they're gonna
putting
be the same.
Hulkenberg in the A category.
Well, a B plus.
Well, I didn't use
He's not
pluses
as
and
cons-
minuses.
he's not as consistent. But where do you put Bortoletto?
Right. I'm asking you that very question.
Well, he's done nothing, has he? He's been really poor as well.
You haven't watched the
He's,
last 3 or 4 Grand Prix. He
if you
has,
wait, I was going to say
yeah,
until recently.
yes, yeah.
But I would put Hulk above him still, and I would put Bortoleto on a B.
I've
Put
given him an
Bortoleto.
A. I've given Bolton. I think
Yeah.
he is going to be a serious star of the future.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I really do. Um, anyway, at least they'll be out of those horrible green colours next year. There'll be an Audi, so we don't know how that's going to work at all. Although the team's getting, but yeah, I think it's Bortoleto. Very smooth. You don't really see him making mistakes. Very accomplished. I think he's going to be a star of the future.
Okay. He's certainly
Racing
loved.
Bulls. Certainly love what?
He's certainly loved in South America, isn't he?
Yeah, huge. Racing Bulls, Hadjar, A. I gave him an A. Should have been maybe a B plus. But I mean, he's certainly got his head down and been the surprise of all the rookies. He's been the biggest. Well, apart from Bortoleto. So I've given Bortoleto an A as a rookie. I have
He's
given
done well.
Hadjar an A initially.
Hadjar's done exceptionally well, and after that horror start in Australia when he put it out on the out lap, green flag lap, yeah.
Liam Lawson, his dumped teammate.
Well, he's just so cocky, wasn't he, in the beginning? So cocky, but he's recovered a little bit, but again, he's certainly not. I don't think he's the people's favourite.
D. Give him a D.
It's quite harsh.
Yeah, well, I think he's
2 points off Hadjar.
It was that one radio comment when he was going out for qualifying or something, wasn't it? Someone was in his way, Who the hell are these guys? What are they tossing sort of feet? I don't know the exact words. It would say, well, hold on a minute. You're just a junior. You're not at that Alonso level to be able to ridicule your colleagues.
He had quite a few run-ins with Alonso, actually. He's just mentioned Alonso. He did have quite a few run-ins with him.
The Haas boys, Behrman and Ocon. Who would you give a higher mark out of those two?
Well, yeah. I love Ollie Behrman, but he's. I don't think he's been very impressive, and Ocon has just smashed him throughout the whole championship, really, so far this season. Certainly in terms of points.
Qualifying 6-8, Ocon edging it.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
But Ollie Behrman's been a little bit of a letdown, I have to say. I thought
he's made some silly mistakes, hasn't he? And he had 4 11th places. 4 11th, which Crofty loved, didn't he? That's the most 11th places. Well, I've given them both Bs. I'm not getting carried away with Behrman. I'd like to give Ollie an A because I think he's got the talent for the future. But he's haven't, as you say, he's made mistakes and hasn't really blown Ocon away. But I don't think Ocon is particularly one of the A's of the future either. I think he's. So I gave them both Bs.
Okay, I'll go with these.
Alpines. Man, it's
hard
to tell.
Is there one team left?
Yeah, just Alpine. Yeah. Well, there's another team I'll come to after them. But yeah, Alpine at the bottom, only 20 points, all of which have been scored by Pierre Gasly, who keeps his head down. Such a lovely character that I've met him and spent quite a bit of time with at an event. And I've had to give him a B. I can't really give him an A because it's been so fluctuating in results. But I think he gives his all every time he goes out in the horrible Alpine. Yeah. And I've given Doohan and Colapinto both E's. I don't think either. I'd like to give Doohan a D because I think he's been so screwed over by Briatore. They should have had sort of half the season each. But, because Doohan never really had the rumour, the fact that the Japanese qualifying the simulator said he could go flat with the flap over DRS. So he did it, and that's why he crashed, because qualified, the simulator said it was possible. And in reality, it was a huge crash, wasn't it? A massive crash.
It was, yeah.
But neither of them. Colapinto's been already rumoured to be out for next year. I think even Briatore's money promises. The other interesting thing is that Colapinto, they all raved about him. I meant to go and research more before this, and I forgot to. Because Colapinto turned up at Monza with Williams and had quite a good Grand Prix. I seem to remember he's quite close to Albon. So we raved about him, thinking, yeah, he's the future. This kid's doing well. And then he sort of petered out a bit. And it was a complete mirror image of Nick de Vries, who turned up. Was that with Williams? Who did he have? And that was at Monza as well. Whichever team it was, he joined to try and revive his Grand Prix dreams. Did a really good Monza, and it was pretty average from then on. So maybe Monza's just an easy circuit. You can get a good qualifying lap at Monza. It's quite a simple circuit, bounce a few curbs. So I've given them both E's, and they both don't have a future, I don't think, in Formula One. I put little asterisks by people who have time to move on. Lewis, asterisk by Lewis. Yeah. I put asterisks by Lawson and Yuki. Time to move on. Science.
Do you think it's time for Lewis? Do you think it's time for Lawson to move on, or do you think it's time for him to
one more
just
year,
knuckle
maybe
down?
with someone? He'll get one more. He might. Yep.
Knuckle down a bit, but put your head down, mate. Yep. You're not a big deal. No. And just put your head down and
Carlos needs to find a sports car drive. I'm a bit bored with Carlos having a place, even though he's good. Lance obviously has to go. And Doohan and Colapinto. So plenty of spaces. So talk about spaces and seats. There are, of course, 2 seats available next year, new ones, Cadillac. And it looks pretty much certain. And I think it's quite sensible but boring that they're going to go for both Bottas and Perez.
Yeah.
Perez. Seems to be most of the talk is going in that direction. But as long as they haven't given them like 5-year contracts, if it's like, 2 years or 1-year contract even, because they need to get some young gun in there. But I don't think it's an obvious young gun. I don't think Colton Herta in America's really done enough to say I'm the American kid. There was talk about the Formula 2 driver that might get the test contract name, whose name I can't remember, is running second in F2 at the moment, American. So, I think Bottas and Perez, it does make sense. Whether they like being going around the back of the grid, I'm not sure, but knocking into each other. So there you have it.
Well,
That's
they
my
used to. What are you on
half-term
about?
report.
They're both used to go around the back of the grid. That's
And
what they've
what's
done
it?
in their recent times.
Bottas has done 246 Grand Prix with 10 wins. Perez 281 Grand Prix with 6 wins.
All right, Crofty, with your stats.
I didn't have a stat sheet in order to give my
Who will
rumours.
come out on top out of those two?
I think Bottas might be faster. I don't know why.
But you know what's going to happen? They'll both be on nil points. So how do you judge? So it goes back to my point that every driver, even as long as you finish, you should get a point, or you should get points.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. So that's it. But I agree. I like everyone having points. I agree with that. But it's so we come back to last weekend's racing. Not much on. A quick run through.
But there was quite a lot on.
Where are we? Oh, sorry, I forgot the MotoGP. I missed out a page. MotoGP. But they went to a car park in Hungary, which I raged about on Twitter, and some bloke from a magazine's raged against me. And it was a crap track. I mean, it's flat, 2 miles, 16 corners, 3 stupidly tight chicanes. It was almost like a sort of a half-size Qatar. Do you know Qatar, when we're at the back, they're just turning. And you don't know when you come in and click in half around,
they
like,
all
you've
look
no
the
idea.
same.
Yeah, what corner are they going around now?
Yeah.
And it was just like that, but about half the speed. All the corners were tighter and tighter. And the straight wasn't that long. The overtaking straight past the pits into turn 1 was a first gear corner in bikes. They've got, 8 gears or 7 gears. And it's that slow. And they just looked so clumsy, and they couldn't overtake unless you did a lunge. Called Balaton Park in Hungary, about 50 miles from Budapest, a new circuit. Yeah, first corner, first gear, 3 tight chicanes, as I said, half side. But it's just, the bikes are turning and single file. Sometimes I think with a track like that, the camera directors obviously zoom in on 2 bikes because they're tight. You almost need to spend a bit more time watching 10 bikes go through a series of corners, which will give you a better picture of where you are on the flipping circuit. And of course, Marc Marquez didn't help by winning both the sprint and the Grand Prix yet again. What I was saying else, everybody else was falling over each other. He was chased by Rossi's 2 Ducatis in the sprint race. The 2 yellow satellite VR46 Ducatis came second and third in the sprint. Pedro Costa had a good one. He was quick in testing, had a huge crash. His bike hit a camera. I think it hit the camera. I haven't seen his shots on YouTube. He lost it in qualifying, I think it was, and the bike tumbled in the gravel trap and then leapt in the air off the tyre wall and hit the camera, who's looking the other way. Luckily, no injury.
But it hit the camera, and the cameraman was holding one of those big cameras.
Proper big.
And just clipped him, but he was okay.
So
I'm
Pedro
laughing because we've had a couple of comments on because we're live. Dane agrees with Oscar winning the World Drivers' Championship. David says, "Paul, satin and lace with mirror on the ceiling." I have to just tell people that I'm not in my bedroom. I'm in a hotel with my son in a twin on a twin bed. And it's all right. I've had worse.
Where was I? It's interrupted by MotoGP. Yeah, so
cameraman
in the Grand Prix,
nearly,
Pedro Costa, having been quick in testing, but lost a lot of time because of that crash, and then he came second in the Grand Prix, had a good race, and Bezzecchi's Aprilia was third. So it was Ducati, KTM, Aprilia on the podium. Pecco Bagnaia 13th in the sprint, 9th in the Grace Grand Prix, and surely a divorce from Ducati is imminent. I think the love affair is over.
When is Mark
And
Marquez going to let his brother win a Grand Prix?
I don't know, but I think he can tie up the title at the next round. And there's
Yeah.
still one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. There's still 8 rounds to go.
What do you
So
think will happen? Do you think he will, or do you because because
I don't know. Well,
Alex has
Alex
given
Market,
him
he's gone off the
Alex has given him
boil.
a
Alex
couple. He has a little bit,
gone
but
off the
he
boil.
gave him a couple. But it'd be interesting whether he does if they're in that position or not.
I probably will. I don't know. Depends where they are
No,
in the
because he probably
championship.
wants it. Yeah,
Where are the
yeah. Does he
points? I
want to
don't know if
get?
he's still second in the points. He probably must
Yeah,
be
he
still
is.
second.
Yeah, but do they want? Do they want to? Do they want to go down in history as winning more Grand Prix than anyone else? I don't know.
And it was a very dull Ballison Park MotoGP. But the other 2 races, actually, despite the horrible single line stretched out field in both Moto 2 and Moto 3, Moto 2 was fantastic as David Alonso, this Colombian kid that we followed last year, dominated Moto 3. And it takes both him and Pedro Costa take longer than you think when they jump up to Moto 2. They're much more physical bike, heavier, harder, and he's taken quite a while to get to the front. But he won the race. He came from 8th. He was the only person that seemed to overtake anybody else, and he just worked his way through the pack until I think it was about the last lap he took the lead from the Brazilian Diego Moreira. And the Spanish championship Gonzalez. There was 3 bikes. They were really close, but only Alonso seemed to overtake. Jake Dixon had a better weekend to be 5th, but not really got any future Moto 2 by
He
the sounds
started
of it.
so well. He did really well at the beginning of the
I
season, if you
know.
remember.
It's on this chassis that the others don't have. But David Alonso, yeah, absolutely epic. And Moto 3 again was processional by Moto 3 standards. They're all strung out. They ended up with a 5-bike breakaway, but the 5 still stayed line astern. Nobody was really there's no straights aren't long enough to get a toe strong enough to overtake. So it's always about lunging up the inside on the first gear hairpin, turn 1. But it was a great race. It was the Spanish guy Max Chies won, stole the win with only about 1 lap to go. This Argentinian Valentin Peroni, who has never won a Grand Prix yet. I think he's a rookie this year, but Chies did the lunge into turn 1 and took the win off him, but he was still pretty happy with second. The championship leader Rueda was 5th of that little bunch of 5. But it was good race. And those 2 races actually, despite the track being terrible, it's just visually terrible. I think all the riders say, well, it's quite fun. It's a bit different. But if you're a spectator on the telly looking at it, once I looked at Cadwell Park today, the British Superbike, it's a huge crowd, undulating, you can't put a thing in a car park. But Moto 3, our Brits again, no good at all. Poor old Scott Ogden's getting worse. He qualified, I don't know, 15th and fell off twice, retired. Eddie O'Shea also went out. Ireland's Casey O'Gorman, who we count a bit as British because he's doing the British Championship. He did the best of the motor. He's only his second race, so he hasn't got a permanent ride for the rest of the year. He finished 13th out of about 30 of them, aren't the kids? So yeah, MotoGP, just nobody was that interested on Twitter because it's just the track's terrible. Over in America,
I thought you said there was one guy that was very interested and he had a go at you.
Yeah, one bloke. He keeps on tweeting and retweeting. He's got a little
somebody
magazine.
Was interested then.
Yeah, but he seems to be on the inside. He seems to be the PR for the bikers. I don't know why. He said he's claimed that 90% of the team, 90% of the paddock love being there. So I tweeted, that's pretty impressive that you researched that extent. Because I said, 90% of the Twitter don't like the place. And he's come back when someone said it's just because the spectators were locals. Obviously, locals would love to have MotoGP. And he said, no, there are thousands of overseas fans there. But again, overseas fans will go because it's Budapest for a piss up, and MotoGP, watch the race. It's a bit like Formula One. They're not caring.
Well, people do love going there, like you said, because you're close to the city centre, Budapest, fun. But you can be very cantankerous sometimes.
But you can't sign off a track like that as a Grand Prix circuit.
Well, I agree. It's awful. Yeah, it's just dull. It was Magnolia.
Yeah. But the IndyCar boys going around that Milwaukee mile, which again, it's a bit of a sort of traditionalist thing because it's 27 cars around a 1 mile oval. 20 seconds a lap. You're Mallory Park if you don't get up to the hairpin, the oval at Mallory Park, that's 1 mile oval. So imagine standing on the bank at Mallory Park watching 27 IndyCars going around in 20 seconds. I mean, it's really spectacular. I think if you're there, it's a bit hard on telly to really appreciate that speed, and they go round. And you can go too wide. It can take, 3 or 4 laps trying to go round the outside, trying to get that exit speed. So there wasn't a lot of overtaking, but it was a lot of tension. But Alex Palou, again, being the Palou that he is, just eventually stretched out a lead and was going to piss off and win another race. But all of a sudden, out of the blue, this Danish guy, Christian Rasmussen, who was a 2023 Indy Lights champion, and he's been in the with this Ed Carpenter team, which is sort of, a mid-pack team. Ed Carpenter Racing is his second year with them. But Ed Carpenter's famous as a driver for his oval skills. So he's always good at setting up cars for ovals and oval tactics and oval everything else. And this Dane Christian qualified 9th. And it's sprinkled with rain. They put the yellows out to go down the start. I don't know if they put the red flag out at all, but it's spat with rain. So, of course, you don't run in the rain. So he popped into the pits with about 20 laps to go and put on a fresh set of tyres. Still came out 6th on the road. And then just drove past everybody. And Palou had about a 6-second lead, and this kid was taking real risks, going high around the outside. But it just shows if you've got an oval car set up right, and then you put fresh tyres on it, you've got so much more grip. But you still got to drive the thing and go around touching walls and overtake around the outside. He took the lead off Palou and won the race. So it was great, good stuff.
How far from? Did he have plenty of laps?
He took the lead with about 10 to go. He took the lead, so it was quite an easy win. Louis Foster, our British rider out there that's going for the rookies title, finished 17th, 1 place in front of his rookie rival, Robert Schwartzman, who was a Ferrari protege, and he's now racing for the Prema team over there. So he's got an 8-point lead with 1 round to go. So we all hope Louis Foster will take the rookie title, which has been very impressive this year.
He's been brilliant.
So, there was a few stuck in the wall. Nolan Siegel, I always think slightly overrated. I'm sure he's brought $10 billion to McLaren, but he put it in the wall on lap 1. I think he was in tears towards the end, his children up there. I shouldn't say that. He was in tears. He looked very... When he got out the car, he was I'm sorry, I let everybody down. Otherwise, a couple of greys to the wall. I can't remember any more yellows. There weren't that many yellows. But the speed differential, if your car's good to someone that's bad, is pretty frightening how quickly they just go past you. But the NASCAR, you disbelievers, the Daytona, the final round for winning to get into the playoffs that start next weekend. And we had an epic Daytona, under the lights, Saturday night, huge crowd. In the first 2 sectors, they had a couple of mass crashes as usual to feast the crash lovers and people bouncing off everywhere.
How many cars on the grid?
40. I don't know how many finished in one piece, about 30. But anyway, what made this so good, the most disappointing thing about the NASCAR boys at these flat-out super speedways, Talladega and Daytona, is that you build up to the finish, so right, it's all the high-speed chess, and yes, we had a couple of crashes, but here we've got the survivors, there's 20 of us out in a pack going round, and they start changing lanes and they start pushing, and by now the tyres are a bit knackered. And because they're pushing so hard, you see some of the drivers being pushed hard by the pusher behind, and they're sort of weaving around at 200 miles an hour. It's like, stop pushing me, but no, please push me, because they then overtake the next lane by 2 miles an hour faster. So it was building up to this. Normally it builds up to a huge crash, but this time it didn't. And that's what made it so good. So often they go into the last lap where the white flag goes, and then from then on, the next flag finishes the race. So often someone will crash halfway around that last lap. So the yellows come out and the racing, they cruise past. But this last lap, it built up, it ended up, they crossed.
Does that happen a lot, does it, in IndyCar?
Yeah,
NASCAR?
Yeah, it's so frustrating because they can do another green, white, yellow, green, white checker. It's called a green, white checker. So you have another restart. You can go to overtime as many times as you want. So I think they changed it after a while because now once you've got to the white, so you've done 1 lap of red. Quite often it goes green, and they crash on the first lap of the restart because it's all going like mad because you've only got 2 laps to the finish. So then they have to go back because then they hadn't got to the white flag. So you have another green, white, checker. Oh no, they crash on the green flag. Another green, white. So you're all praying to get to the white flag. There was someone that the guy that won. That was a good story on the Xfinity race on the Saturday. Can't remember the names now because the kid Zayn Zalicki, this kid that's going to be a superstar that broke it. One of them fell out of his car when he won the race. Walking to broke his collarbone.
Yeah.
Zilic. So he qualified on pole despite having a broken collarbone. He did about 8 laps. Then he pitted. You're allowed to have a reserve driver. So he came in and said, I can't risk my collarbone. So they had a reserve driver in who had almost retired from Xfinity. And last year, he was just killing because he was leading. He's never won a race. And he was leading with a big gap. I think it was at Charlotte Roval, that Park Road Course one. And anyway, he was within 10 feet of the white flag to say, next one, the race is over, when the yellows went because someone crashed. So they went to have a restart. They went back for green. And of course, then he got mobbed by people with fresher tyres. And anyway, so he went and he won. He won the Daytona race. But he didn't because only the start driver is recorded as the winner. So he took Zilic's car to a fantastic victory, but won't actually be in the record books as the winner of the race. So Zilic won, having only done
that should be in the record books much more or equally as a reverse grid.
It's a fun thing. On to. So anyway, so the Daytona ended up with 4 lanes coming side by side to the finish line.
Amazing.
And they separated by, unfortunately, Ryan Blaney, who's already won a race, who's already in the playoffs. I think he was like 12th with 2 laps to go, and he just worked the right lanes. And they came to that, and he won. And there were 4 people that hadn't won, would have gone through to the playoffs. So he broke the hearts of Daniel Suarez, who hasn't got to drive next year, was 2nd. Justin Haley was 3rd. Cole Custer was 4th. And he led on to the last lap, the guy that finished 5th, I think, at the end. The top 7 were covered by 1/10 of a second as they crossed the line. So it was proper drama.
Brilliant.
So back home, British GTs entertained like mad at the weekend at wonderful Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Mercedes winning again from McLaren, a Lamborghini and an Aston Martin. Lovely variety. They all come about 10-15 seconds after 2 hours of racing. They had some pace cars that closed them up. So good at GT racing. The Mercedes looked like they're going to win the championship, whichever driver pairing that was, which I didn't write down. Of course, the GB3s we've been following, where Freddie Slater came back, who occasionally does GB3 as well as the Formula Regional Europe. But this time he got pants taken down by the Aussie, the championship leader, the Australian Alex Ninovich. Took 2 wins ahead of Slater. I mean, Slater was still 2nd in both.
I was going to say, it's hardly pants taken down, is it? It's just...
No, I know, but he's won everything. I know. So
part-timer in the championship.
Again, very little overtake. Hard to overtake. Those cars don't like overtake. GB3s, I've spoken to some of the drivers, and after 2 laps with your fresh tyres, they just go to blur. Then you all go round, understeering round, and nobody overtakes anybody. So let's just worry about this when it's a single-make, single-seater series, you have the opportunity to make a car that can overtake as much as you want, by not giving so much aero. And, I said Piastri Bustamante was complaining too much aero with the stepping up the ladder from Formula 4 to GB3. We'll take some off, make them friskier cars, make the racing happen. So anyway, Ninovich won both races, and he's looking like he's going to win that title. Abby Pulling had a much better weekend because she's been in the sort of 13th and 14th. She had an 8th and a 9th. Which I was impressed by. Well done, Abby. And I get impressed by that until the headlines came out. Because, of course, they had a reverse grid race. And guess what one headline says? A breakthrough podium for Pulling. Well, you started 4th on the grid and you finished 3rd. And the other man today on the Motorsport Network says, huge GB3 milestone. And that just gets my goat up about, well done, Abby. 2 really good, 8th and 9th. You've moved to the top 10. Brilliant. It's a really, really tough series. Let's have a headline about these blooming reverse grid races. But, the 2 in front of her on the front row came 1st and 2nd. Nobody else. In fact, to show about how hard and how good, the only thing about reverse grid races is you can demonstrate drivers that can overtake. So Ninovic, this champion to be, started 12th, finished 12th. Freddie started 11th, finished 6th. So in fact, the only person in the whole reverse grid that did any overtaking by the looks of it was pretty much Freddie. So yeah, back off with these headlines, boys. I know we all want the girls to have a good result, but give them the real credit when they get the real result, and then you can shout and scream. Sorry, have I gone too far?
No, but I think you're right. Well, I don't think you are right, in my opinion, because then what happens is everybody jumps on Twitter, especially people that don't understand motorsport, because it's half a story. It's not telling the full story, and then the women will go, with waving their bit of paper and say, "Well, Abby Pulling got a podium, and she's as good as any man. She
Oh
got
no.
third place,
Well,
and
she won a
she
Formula
should
4
be
race last year. It happened
she
last
should
year.
be in Formula One." Yeah,
First woman to win a Formula 4 race. Guess what sort of race it was?
reverse grid.
Reverse
Yeah,
grid race.
yeah.
Hate reverse grid races.
But Tiff, you and I both want her and every other woman and everyone to excel and win
Yeah,
races.
yeah.
We'll be prouder than anybody.
There'll be a headline of our podcast if they win a real race, as I call them, real race. Right, lastly, the British Superbikes were superbly entertaining. One race on the Sunday, 2 races today. And the battle of the championship, huge turnaround in the championship battle, because Bradley Ray, who's walked away with the first 6 weekends, it seems like, and just a huge championship lead, while reigning champion Carl Ryde and Tommy Brimewell just didn't seem to be on the pace. But they've all closed up now, and Campbell Park is Honda's home track. They're based just up the road, and they always go well there. So Bradley Ray again led the first race, and Tommy Bridewell was right on his rear wheel. Then Bridewell dropped it at the chicane, so he was out of the first race. And Kyle Ryde caught up with Ray, but couldn't get past him before the finish. So that was a Ray Ryde 1-2, with the other Honda of Andrew Irwin came third. And then race 2, Bradley Ray was out leading lap 2. Again, this is what you never see in a car race. Dropped it going down the gooseneck. Right off, tumbling, retired, wrecked the bike. Just in the middle of the gooseneck, where you turn from right to left, and it was on the second lap only. The commentator, well, your tyre's not, maybe it's warm enough, but it's still a fresh rubber tyre if it's a new tyre. So Ray was out of round 2, which allowed Tommy Brimewell to have his first win for a long time. And Kyle Ryde snatched second place from the other Honda of Irwin about the penultimate lap. So Ryde got a second, but that was a really close race. Then round 3, it's only just finished about an hour ago in England, up at Campbell Park. Another good battle, but Carl Ryde this time took it from the front and pulled away from Irwin. Tommy Bridewell changed his bike. He complained afterwards he made the wrong move, finished third, but well away. And Bradley Ray, maybe not with the bike or him in 100% condition, finished 12th. So Ryde turned round the championship lead and now leads the championship after being so far behind. 3 or 4 rounds ago, I don't know what the points he's gained, must be massive. But he's now leading the championship with 4 rounds to go. So all to play for. The Bradley Ray walkover is not happening.
2-horse race.
Where are they? I don't know how many more have they got.
4 races. You just said there's 4 rounds to go.
Fell over. Why am I out of focus now? It's all gone wrong. Oh, I'm not there. I'm back. Okay, I'm back. I knocked my screen over. It was still hearing me.
Loud and clear. 4 races
to
go.
4, yeah. Donington, Assen, that fabulous track in Holland, Alton Park and Brands Hatch. Yes, there's still plenty to play for. That was it. Any questions?
Where are we next week?
Well, Holland, Zandvoort. Another track I'm not hugely impressed by for Formula 1 cars, despite the wonderful banked corner that's so exciting. It's flat out for everybody.
But it's just overtaking or lack of.
Yeah, lack of overtaking. Not long enough straight. I don't know. They can't do much. I think they've only got the one DRS bit because they haven't got any other straights. It's got a big Mickey Mouse middle of the track. But obviously the Orange Army will be there and the Papaya Army will be there. It'll be a great occasion. No Formula 2 or Formula 3, but the Formula Academy are there. So the Academy girls are having fun on the beach. IndyCar go for their last round in a 1.5 mile Nashville Oval, where the interesting thing for us is to see if Foster can take that rookie's title, to see if Palou's got to say anything about a Red Bull Drive and where he's going. World Rally Championship goes to Paraguay for the first time, round the rutted sort of tricky rally by the sounds of it. And of course, that championship really getting exciting with Evans and Ogier says he's doing all the rest of the season now. He's not going to be part-time. He's going for a record equally 9th title. So the two Sebs would have 9 titles each. So he's all fired up to take Evans' thing. And Robert Perez on form. And Tanak is still battling in there as the leading Hyundai. So that should be a fascinating rally. NASCAR said they begin their knockout series. The first of 3 races that will cut it from 16 down to 12. They're at the Darlington egg-shaped oval. And back home, of course, we're all going to Donington for the BTCCCC on this weekend.
Nice.
Here endeth. Our live report.
Talking here endeth.
Here endeth my glass as well.
I'm going to press end and I'm going to disappear. You won't see me again because we've had that problem before where you've stayed on. So I'm going to press end.
Cheers,
Thanks for
everyone.
joining us.